Number 10. Washington Monument. This is one of those things that I wish I got to do as a job, you know? Like, YouTube's fun, but also this is pretty fun too. But again, I have a fear of heights, so there's no way I could physically do this ever. You can go inside the Washington Monument, that's no surprise nor secret. But did you know there's a secret hatch hiding at the very top? In Spider-Man Homecoming, Peter has to save his classmates. They're stuck in the elevator shaft in the monument. Now, in order to reach them before they fall, he has to kick through this tiny window at the very top. He almost doesn't make it. It takes like 3 good Spidey kicks. Turns out he could have crawled 4 feet higher to the top and opened this secret hatch. And then guy could have called it a day, easy. No web fluid nor powers needed, my friends. Also a pretty boring climax. Yeah, you don't need Spider-Man to clean the monument, just people who aren't afraid of heights. Then they pop out of this. They open the hatch and then they just sweep it. I can't even look at this photo. I feel sick to my stomach. Number 9, secret insect room. Okay, back to the buggy weirdness, here we go. If you're in Liverpool and you love insects, okay, very specific, but I have just the place for you. Inside the World Museum in Liverpool lies a secret room, and inside it contains 1 million insects. Yeah, I'm itchy just thinking about this room. They're all dead, by the way, unlike the other ones that I mentioned. These ones aren't ripping apart any carcassi. Carcasses? Yeah, carcassi, sounds fun. This collection began back in 1855. The 13th Earl of Derby. He's like, you know what I need? A cupboard full of shiny bugs. Let's start that. Thousands of specimens hide in this room, including the world's largest beetle and moth. It's so gross. I almost had a little saliva when I said that. It felt really gross saying that. The world's largest beetle. Oh, it's so gross. They're so shiny. Imagine Night at the Museum, but it takes place here at the World Museum in London. Bugs everywhere. Ben Stiller wouldn't make it out. No way. No way in hell. Owen Wilson? Little Owen Wilson? Toast. Number 8. Eiffel Tower apartment. I live on the 11th floor, and let me tell you, way too high. That's like 10 stories higher than I could preferably handle. Like I mentioned earlier, I am not a fan of heights at all. My legs get all shaky. Maybe it's because I'm tall already. I don't know, but it sucks. But this one here gives me a hard time as well. Above the Eiffel Tower, above the main observation deck, when it was completed back in 1889, Gustave Eiffel, the, Mr. Eiffel himself who made the blueprints, he included for himself a sweet little condo at the very top. This 100 square meter room sounds spacey at first, but it was full of gear, the elevator shaft was there, it was kind of like Harry Potter's closet in comparison to the rest of the house, you know what I mean? This room had a kitchen, bathroom, thank God, and a living room. God forbid you open a window though. Papers would be all over the place. Gustave's hair must have been messy all the time. Number 7, Ed and Lorraine Warren's Occult Museum. Okay, heading into Spookyville for this one. If you've seen Annabelle Comes Home, this next one should ring a bell. The character Daniela in the movie, she tries to communicate to a loved one beyond the grave, but in order to do so, she puts on a bracelet from Ed and Lorraine's Occult Museum. It's called a mourning bracelet. It's kind of like the Q-ray bracelet, but does the opposite things. Makes you curse instead of smart. Now, there isn't a mourning bracelet in the real-life Occult Museum, but there is such thing as the Pearls of Death. And those are locked away. Those are very real. Those are lovely too, might I add. These pearls were added to the museum after a woman claimed they were strangling her on its own, which is absolutely terrifying. It's like those candy necklaces that we had growing up, and they'd get tight all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God. The second this poor woman put these pearls on, she needed everybody around her to help yank them from her neck. Now these haunted pearls sit in the Ed and Lorraine Occult Museum. These ones have nothing on Martha Wayne, oh Lord. Number 6, Naples' secret adult room. Scandalous Pompeii excavations. Ancient Playboy, here we go, this one's pretty funny. After the eruption of Mount Vesuvius back in 79 AD, the small city of Pompeii was sadly covered in hot ash. The ancient Roman ruins are still being uncovered today, but back in the 1700s, most of the city was excavated for the first time. And the King of Naples got the best of the best, right? First dibs. Most of the contents are now kept in the Archaeological Museum in Naples, but some have to be held in the secret room. Yeah, see, in the past, you had to receive permission from the king to take a peek into this sensual art. There were 30 brothels in Pompeii, so of course, surrounding artwork served as advertisement for said brothels, if anything. Just old drawings or carvings of people intertwined with one another. Yo, I found Dad's stash! Number 5, Svalbard Seed Vault. Deep within a mountain that sits in between Norway and the North Pole sits this vault that is more than 320 feet deep. It's just hidden inside of a mountain, okay? This vault holds a massive collection of seeds. It'd be the worst case for that other island, eh? They're like, no, keep this vault away, please, none of those. The vault that holds these seeds are made to withstand both man-made and natural disasters. And the seeds held inside are meant to be kept safe, so that in the case of sort of, a huge disaster or the end of the world arrives, seeds will be fine. Yeah, we're good, just some watermelon seeds will make it, but we're all doomed. Sick. The seeds kept safe inside would ensure the continuation of a wide variety of diverse food options in case things go south, you know what I mean? The door to this vault is only open a few times a year and just a few people are allowed inside in order to deliver seeds to their shelves. Yeah, just a Doomsday Vault full of seeds, that's great. Now I'm nervous. Number 4, Snake Island. This island's located in Brazil and it's one of the most dangerous in the entire world. Because of the name I just gave you, it's full of snakes. I don't think I have to explain this one. It is thought that Snake Island came to be when the snakes got trapped as a result of the rising sea levels, which then disconnected the island from the mainland, and then all these snakes got stuck here, and now it's just full of snakes. This is so horrible. The reason people aren't allowed to visit is obviously to protect humans who don't want to go and get attacked by thousands of snakes, but also to protect the snakes from thousands of humans, because we're pretty shitty as well. Just like anywhere else in the world, because of the lack of human interference, they're striving. It's actually a healthy, beautiful island. That's what the snakes said, not me. I don't like snakes, but the snakes seem to like it. They're having a great time together. It's like Survivor season 58, just snakes. There's a critically endangered species of snake called a golden lancehead on this island. There's about 4,000 of them, which is, of course, critical to the species continuing on. So let's not touch it. Let's not poke any snakes. Let them live. As of now, only a few select researchers and the Brazilian Navy, of course, are permitted to go to the island. Number 3. Grand Central Tennis Court. It's kind of hard to mention the Supreme Court without talking about the tennis courts at Grand Central. Yeah, those exist too. Let's do it. In the early 1800s, trade and banking fueled the city, specifically via railroad. Both freight and passenger. It was booming, right? We love trains, gotta get those train bonds. So come 1871, Grand Central now opens up, but the Vanderbilt Tennis Club opened in 1965. It wasn't even tennis either. This room had also been a recording studio, an art gallery, it hosted breakdancing, boxing, double Dutch tournaments, you name it. If you ever see a sweaty guy walk out of a janitor's closet with a bunch of tennis balls, go in there, go poke around a bit. Something's going on. It's like when Spider-Man comes out of the closet in Spider-Man 2 with all the pizzas. Nobody asks questions. They're like, hey, where'd that guy just come from? Where'd all this delicious pizzas come from? Number 2, Cursed Music Box. Okay, we gotta include another horrifying element from the Warren Occult Museum. We all love that in the other parts, so let's continue it. The Perrin Family Music Box. Remember this? Director James Wan wanted to use the music box in the first film, in The Conjuring, because mirrors and creepy tones make for great suspense, of course. But also, this was a real haunted artifact from the real house. Today, the box is safely stored in the Warren's Occult Museum, alongside other items that look more or less normal upon first glance, and then you get close and your soul becomes possessed. They're all haunted, never go in this room. This part in the movie actually scared the shit out of me. Any mirror scene, I can't do it. I just end up eating my shirt. And finally, number 1. Mayan underworld. Going back over to the ancient Maya, let's finish off strong. Back in 2003, quite recent, in Mexico, archaeologist Sergio Gomez arrived to work. The beautiful Mayan serpent pyramid, that's where he worked, right? What a gig. Out of nowhere, there was a sinkhole that just appeared overnight on property, but it was super close to the actual pyramid. So Sergio covered it with a tent quickly, obviously not knowing where to begin with this now stressful situation at one of the most historical sites on the planet. Sergio had to go in there and figure out where it led to, right? That's obviously the next question. Sergio had been working there for 30 years prior. He knew the serpent pyramid pretty well at that point, but what he found that day was hiding underneath him that entire time, for 30 years. He got a few coworkers to lower him into the fresh sinkhole, so right off the bat, this guy deserves a raise. Let's do that, let's figure that out first. He was lowered into this secret tunnel, this ancient tunnel. This tunnel was blocked off purposely thousands of years ago, so there's lots of work to be done, but why was it blocked off, right? That's the big question. The tunnel was excavated for about a year afterwards, and it was determined that it was blocked on purpose to stop people from going back and forth. Because all of these pyramids connected to one another. The tunnel connected the Serpent Pyramid to the Temple of the Moon and to the Temple of the Sun. Now, it's one thing to discover secret tunnels and pyramid entrances your entire life, but to fall down another layer of secrets almost 30 years later? I don't know, it's kinda something's afoot here. I have a feeling we'll never know who really built these or why, but I'm on it, I'm figuring it out. Number 10, Matt doesn't live here. Okay, right off the bat, I need some help here. Comment down below what you think is going on with this clip. There's a backstory that I need to find. Back in 2016, in the middle of an August summer night, this man suddenly approaches, and this man is topless, which is always a not great sign off the bat. And as he's slowly approaching, he's looking back at somebody off camera, it seems. He has the I'm about to ring the doorbell and run away look. You know what I mean? We all had that. We all had that growing up at some point. But instead of knocking and running, he pretends to knock. Yeah, he knocks the air, and then he pretends to ask somebody if Matt's home. Yeah, he does it so the other person can see just him. Now, I don't know if this was a dare or some sort of attempted break-in, because nobody answered the door, nothing happened. He was just talking to no one, which makes it even more creepy. I don't know. Do you think he was trying to convince his friend that he was doing a prank when really he wasn't trying to disrupt anybody? Or is there something else going on? He's like, hey, is Matt here?
Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry.
Number 9, found a key. This one comes from Reddit user ending is near here. That's a great name, that's a solid name. They say, once I got an alert that someone was at the door. My dog was also barking, but I didn't hear a knock, which was odd. I then heard something myself, so I checked the camera and saw this younger looking guy at the doorstep. He had walked up and tried unlocking my front door with what I guess was a key he found on the ground somewhere outside close to my house. He found it and I guess he was just trying random keys like it's Legend of Zelda. Okay. This happened in broad daylight with cars still in the driveway. Yeah, these type of scenarios always creep me out. People always have keys hidden in obvious fake rocks in front of their house or whatever, or like a mailbox. No way. Keep your spares very hidden. People will try anything. Clearly, this guy's trying random locks. Like, what do you even, then what? What's step 2? Number 8, Halloween decorations. This story is a cautionary tale, and also, like I said, 'tis the season. Here we go. It's a reminder for us to all be aware of our surroundings at all time. The Reddit user named 2nth463 wrote, a few years ago, we had a Halloween party and I rigged an old busted camcorder to the top of my shower curtain aimed at the toilet. It was a gag, right? The bathroom is small, so it was very obvious. It was very in plain sight. There was no batteries, no media, nothing. But also, not one person mentioned it. At the end of the party, I was like, hey guys, we'll have a great time, cool, get home safe. No one's gonna mention the camcorder over the toilet? Nobody had even seen it, somehow. I guess maybe the partygoers chalked this up to some spooky, weird Halloween decoration, or maybe they flat out just didn't notice at all. Both are kind of odd, and yeah, this is kind of a weird social experiment to pull off at a party. But next time you see decorations or even props, take a look, you know, kind of take a peek for some memory cards. You never know. Number 7, Trafalgar Square. Come on down to Trafalgar Square. We got tiny police stations. It's a Rick and Morty joke. Little Brits, come on, that's a great one. Back in 1926, strikes and protests were every other week. It's almost like, you know, increase to labor and a 13% wage cut is a bad thing. Weird, odd. So workers in every industry all went on strike. They stopped working for 9 days, and most of these protests would happen in London's Trafalgar Square. So in order to keep an eye on things without looking like you're, you know, keeping an eye on things in 1926, you know, walking around smacking a bat in your hands, blowing smoke in people's faces, you know, that kind of stuff. They do in Peaky Blinders. Yeah, you can't do that. It doesn't really calm a crowd down. So instead, the police built a tiny, secret police station at one of the large light posts. Yeah, they're just hiding on a light post, just ready to tackle someone. Imagine a dog starts peeing on the post and then all of a sudden 15 police officers come out of said light post. I'd be so confused. I'd be confused for the rest of my life. It looks fake. It looks like a little information kiosk. Nope, just a SWAT team inside, ready to go. Number 6, Supreme Court basketball court. A court in a court? What is this, Inception? What's going on here? This is the Supreme Court, mainly referred to as the highest court in the land. Back in the 40s, this was the storage room for the courthouse, but over time, it turned into a workout room, being so large, I wouldn't even call that a storage room in the first place, right? But courthouse employees would work out there, and eventually some genius decided to throw up a couple of backboards. So yes, there's a basketball court right above the Supreme Court. Yeah, imagine hearing players' shoes squeaking during a trial. Your Honor, I believe somebody just got juked out. I don't know, that's what it sounds like. Number 5, Brooklyn Bridge wine cellar. Here we go. I'm not a wine guy myself, but I respect sommeliers. They all have that cool mustache and like to mansplain to you about grapes. Very good job. I like it. I like getting mansplained about what I'm drinking and why I'm drinking it. They have books about wine just stored in their head at all times. It's a very impressive job. They know everything about grapes, and they're also pretty cool. What a dream job. Wine is a lifestyle to many, so if you live in New York City and you're a big fan of Merlot, well, listen up. The Brooklyn Bridge connects Manhattan and Brooklyn, right? It was built in 1883, and at the time, it was the longest bridge in the world, until 1903. Chief Bridge Engineer John A. Roebling, as well as his son, Washington Roebling, cool name, they both worked on the building plans, and in order to help the city financially, after you just spent $15 million on a bridge, they included 2 wine cellars, one on each shore, as well as other chambers that could be rented out. Not a bad gig, not a bad Airbnb if you ask me. The plan worked, and over the following 40 years, wine was stored in the dark, cool granite cellars on both sides. Number 4. Mount Rushmore. When sculptor Gutzon Borglum carefully planned out his designs for Mount Rushmore, the iconic American landmark in South Dakota, he included a hidden room. The room's purpose was to ideally be a time capsule, right? In a titanium vault full of records telling the story of Mount Rushmore's construction and all that American stuff, so it doesn't get lost thousands of years in the future. Now, I think carving presidents' faces into the sacred land of natives was enough, but sure, let's add a vault. The Hall of Records was meant to be this massive hall with an 800-foot staircase, bronze walls, a massive bronze eagle. He wanted future generations to look at this place in awe as we do like Stonehenge, right? Work began in July 1938, but after a year, the project was put on halt to, focus on the presidents first maybe. Let's finish that job before we do the secret vaults in the back. Borglum sadly passed away in 1941, so the 70-foot cave that was completed was now the vault. Yeah, not as big or flashy as he wanted in the first place, but still there is a titanium vault behind the 1,200-pound slab of granite. Number 3, a grim warning. This one comes from user RightMind2723. Great name. Let's talk about why. They say we had a series of break-ins in our neighborhood when doorbell cameras first came out. So we got one because my husband often worked late and I would be home alone with the kids. Okay, great idea. I'm starting to understand your username right off the bat. Since they were so new, most people didn't know that it was a camera. So one night my phone pinged that there was movement outside. I pulled it up and it was 2 guys talking about if they should try going in the back of the house or the side or the front. I was on the line with 911 so fast. Yeah, I can't imagine. The cops arrived even faster. The cops caught them both, and it turned out these were the 2 men responsible for all the other break-ins in the neighborhood previously. They didn't realize that I was home. Yeah, gotcha. Neighbors all got doorbell cameras after this night. Yeah, as they should, and as you should as well. I'm probably gonna get one. Number 2, secret app. Okay, at one point or another, we all got an iPod, right? It was jailbroken. We got that secret vault app on there just to be cool, put our secret stuff in there. It's designed to look like another app. In case anyone goes through your phone, you can hide all your memes, MSN passwords, whatever. You can all put them in here. But how secure is that app to begin with? Just because there's a photo of a vault on the app doesn't mean it's nearly as secure. 2 summers ago in June in Australia, hundreds of criminals were caught after a 3-year operation was finally complete. The FBI had been trying to crack the case for so long here. Now these cell phones that came from the black market, they have a calculator app that is secretly a platform for criminals to message each other safely. Yeah, criminals be like, "You up? Check the calculator app. What are you doing right now?" Shipments, trafficking weapons, contracts, but the FBI thankfully was able to intercept over 20 million messages in over 45 different languages. Operation Trojan Shield they call it, yeah. You might want to go delete those spicy pics in that free vault app you got years ago. Because you never know who's in there taking note, or taking meetings, I guess. And finally, number 1. Sleepwalker. Kyle, the other host on B, he has night terrors. This man would get up in the middle of the night growing up and just start doing dishes, you know what I mean? I feel bad for sleepwalkers, okay? It's rough. I don't understand it, but I get it. Not as much as Kyle, but I get it. This one comes from Reddit user Raging Ball of Fury. Great name, okay. They say, my little brother is a sleepwalker. We'd gotten an alert one night and saw that he had snuck out of the house while, of course, still asleep. My sister said she heard someone talking just outside the door. So I went to look and I saw my brother sitting on the porch, apparently having a conversation with our grandpa, despite, sitting alone. She says he was saying, "I love you and I'm going to miss you." Now my dad got him back inside the house without waking him up, which is a feat in itself, and nobody gave it much thought. Until a couple of hours later when my uncle called telling us my grandpa had passed away in his sleep. that night. My little brother says he doesn't remember anything, as most sleepwalkers do, but we got it on video. We can't hear what he's saying too clearly, but he was definitely talking to someone, and he sure as heck said, "I'm going to miss you," at least twice. Kicking off our list at number 10, Secret Cinderella Suite. Cinderella's castle at Disney World. Of course, it's the main attraction. Without that castle, it would just be a Canadian theme park. Of course, the castle is a smaller scale than a real medieval one, so it's a surprise to find out there's actually a real hidden suite in there. And yes, it's quite magical. You can sleep there and probably get bed bugs, I don't know. To get there, you'll need to take a pumpkin carriage elevator. And in the actual suite, you'll find 2 beds and a pull-out couch. Yeah, nothing more enchanting than a pull-out. Who gets that one? Let's draw straws. There's beautiful stained glass windows, a fireplace to keep you warm at night in Florida. But I almost forgot the most important detail. You need to be invited. Yeah, you gotta be important. You can't just buy your way in, right? Can't just get daddy's credit card and fast pass your way in that line. You gotta win a contest or something like that. I don't think I'd want to spend a night there, to be honest. It doesn't look very cozy. It's like one of those cottages you stay at and you're like, I'm scared, I'm really uncomfortable. This is a little too old for me. Number 9, DMZ. Despite what its name says and implies, the Korean Demilitarized Zone is perhaps one of the most militarized places in the entire world. It's like, hey, there's nothing going on here with military stuff. This is the location that marks the separation between North and South Korea, and it was established to serve as a sort of buffer zone between 2 countries. There are tons of military facilities in this zone, and only high-ranking officials are allowed in. You'll hopefully never see this. This is exactly what led to the creation of the Civilian Control Line, which is a line that created an additional buffer zone to the Demilitarized Zone, which is meant to further restrict access to any civilians or unauthorized personnel. So they added more of a do not enter. It's thick. You'll never see this. Number 8, Surtsey Island. This island was born in 1963, and by that I mean literally. It emerged from the sea in that year just off the coast of Iceland after 4 years of being formed by an undersea volcano. Yeah, brand new island, nice. Happy birthday, I guess? What do we do here? What could we possibly do with a new island? Well, I'm sure humans could find 1,000,001 ways to ruin it. Like, put another Cinderella suite in the middle of it probably. And surprisingly, we decided not to do that at all. Instead, this island was protected in order to allow scientists to study how ecosystems form and what happens when there's 0 human involvement. That's the whole idea. Yeah, not a bad call, right? This means that those who are permitted to go to the island have some super strict rules to adhere to, right? No touchy-touchy, no spitting, no crying. There's nothing, no one should know that we've ever been here, right? One of these rules is no seeds, okay? And no using the facilities on the island, okay? No taking, okay? You gotta hold it until 6 p.m. Have fun. Don't forget to clock in. That second rule is in place because one day scientists found a tomato growing on the island, and they were quite confused as, how, considering what I just told you. Yeah, it turns out somebody had gone number 2 not too long past, and then, a tomato came out because he had a little seed in his own, right? You get it. Number 7. Bob. Here we go. Another real nightmare coming from Reddit. The Reddit user Stealthy Bomber wrote, "One morning after swim practice, my friends and I saw a blinking red light in a locker with a towel draped down the door." Okay, this is horrible right off the bat. Turns out it was a janitor that we called Creepy Bob, and he was recording us in the showers. That is so disgusting and super creepy. I hope they were able to report this incident to the proper people and get some sort of action taken because, yeah, there's nothing okay about this at all. Also, the fact that they referred to this guy as Creepy Bob already, it seems like there were already a few red flags. You gotta trust those alarms going off in your head. They're called instincts. Number 6. Not hired help. This one is very controversial in the comments section, so I need to know where you stand on this matter. I went to this video, checked the comments, and it's a little odd. I don't know what to believe here. This footage is from 2017, and the description of the video says this. "A suspicious man walks to my door and has no clear answers to my question and then leaves. Thanks to Ring Doorbell for saving the day yet again." Now, I watched this video, read the comments, and let's talk shop. Half of the comments here are upset. They're defending this man at the door, saying clearly it sounds like he's not trying to break in, or maybe he was part of the crew that laid the tile outside of the homeowner's door previously. It must have been a long time ago, and if you're not the original homeowner, he's mixing you up with someone else. For sure. Someone also comments how he notices a package at the front door, yet he doesn't take it. Clearly, maybe he's not a thief. Others think he's trying to get more work done. Okay, all valid. My take on this though, my take personally, agree or disagree, that's fine. If you don't know who's at your door, you don't have to get it in any sense. Doesn't matter who's there, who's doing what. Whatever. This person in the recording was talking to the man, like through their doorbell camera they were able to talk through their phone and see why he's at the door. They also told the stranger that they weren't home for another 20 minutes because they were in a meeting. Never tell anybody you're not home, especially a stranger at your front door. Great, let's move on. Number 5, air freshener. This creepy hidden camera tale comes from a shopping mall in Russia, specifically the public washroom, so that's horrible, I guess. One afternoon, a guest of this mall headed to the washroom where they saw an air freshener. Okay, no big deal. These are the type of automatic air fresheners, you know, the ones that surprise you every time and you forget. It's like, pfft. But the guest noticed that it hadn't got off at all, which one is, okay, rude, you know, help me out please here. But 2, why not? Why didn't it go off? It was blinking. Is it not working? After a little investigating, well, you guessed it, they found a sneaky little camera hidden inside. Yeah, no fresh daffodils, just fresh creepiness. Be curious, okay? Take a look at stuff like that, especially public places. Be a little too cautious, dare I say. I'm glad I'm doing this list because honestly, it's teaching me things as well. You're learning, I'm learning, subscribe. Number 4, not cops. This, again, is a hard one. I don't know what I would do. If I saw this outside my front door, I would have probably opened up as well. This is why doorbell cameras with audio are vital. This comes from an anonymous source. Can't imagine why. I have a camera doorbell, and the creepiest thing I ever saw was the night I had 2 cops come to my door. They stood outside the door talking to each other about if I was home or not and who would assault me first. I was at home at the time and my dog alerted me by whining near the door, so I checked the camera, saw them, listened to them talking for about 10 seconds before I immediately called 911. The operator told me they didn't have any cops in my area at the time and to stay away from the door and to put at least one more locked door between me and them to stay on the line and to stay quiet until, you know, the real cops could get there. Now I live around the block from the fire department, so it was less than 2 minutes later when a fire truck pulled up and the 2 fake not cops ran away. That is terrifying, but honestly, you made all the right decisions at that moment. That's so scary. The amount of videos I've seen online where people pretend to be police officers, one, it's cringe if it's, you know, daylight and they're just doing nothing outside with Oakley sunglasses, or 2, it can be terrifying and they can try and break in. Both horrible. Number 3, Disney's underground tunnels. Back to Disney, where dreams are made of, or something like that. In a place like Disney, there has to be room for employees to take a breather, right? That much time and character, all those high fives. I mean, I've done mascot work for a theme park before. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's gross. It's not the easiest job, but they're humans too, okay? They need to take breaks, clock in and out, all that jazz. Where does that magic happen, okay? This needs to be away from the public eye, of course. You can't have people watching as Mickey takes his head off to go for a smoke. No way, magic is completely ruined at that point. So instead, Disney has these hidden underground tunnels to move around the park without worrying about staying in character or getting caught in large crowds. During the early park days, Walt Disney himself saw a cowboy from Frontierland walking through Tomorrowland. And it just didn't make any sense. He's like, wait a minute, the timeline's here, he's got a hat in space, what? It took him out of the magic, right? More than fair. So he made 392,000 square feet of underground tunnels. And yes, they look as creepy as I'm describing them to be. There's zero magic in these tunnels. I mean, God, can we throw a poster up or something? Number 2, restricted Aboriginal art. While some collections are kept out of sight for museum visitors because they're, you know, extremely scandalous in nature, like, one of those. Others are kept in secret rooms out of respect. We don't want people touching or messing with these things. At the National Museum of Australia, David Klaus, senior curator of the museum's Aboriginal programs, he wrote this long report explaining on the choice to hide these artifacts from history and why he does so. David himself has said, quote, "That is the responsibility of museums to respect the cultures they want to depict. The public use of Aboriginal secret and/or sacred objects is not consistent with this responsibility," end quote. He's like, yeah, because they didn't want them to be seen. It's kind of simple. In order to gain access to these restricted Aboriginal projects, these beautiful pearl shell ornaments, all these things, you need permission from traditional Aboriginal custodians. Again, no fast passing on this one. And finally, number 1, North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is the home of the Sentinelese tribe, one of the most forbidden islands in the world. But why is that? Well, it's located in the Bay of Bengal. North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers away from India, okay? It's pretty far out. And while most islands are shrinking or coming out of nowhere, this one actually grew back in 2004. The island lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so the west and south sides gained an extra kilometer, which is pretty useful because the inhabitants on this floating cursed island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world. They have apparently been there for thousands of years. There's no sign of agriculture or even fire, yet somehow this tribe has continued to thrive. If we try and get close, they try and drive anybody away. In fact, sadly, back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they got too close to the island without knowing who was on it. The Indian government didn't roll up to the beach and start interrogating locals and taking names. Hey, who did that? No, instead, it's now forbidden to go to the island. We're just gonna respectfully leave it be.